of a sudden now, you see, he's interested in putting chips in the damn TV to save something on what a person sees, and yet you got over 50 years of history or 40-something years of history of TV where you just got all kind of wild stuff. At least 20-something years or 30, 25 years of raw everything, suggestion or whatever you want to say. Kids know what the hell going on. And you got cable where you just got it straight out. But all of a sudden they're taking an interest in this thing. So the whole key is, we know that he came there to actually calm them Negroes down, saying, we're going to try to get on top. We're going to try to pass laws, so this is serious. This is just like hitting the Pentagon. You messing with our damn black churches. You see what I'm saying? Now, isn't it interesting? Now, two things happened last week that is very spiritual. On his way to the church, the damn planes start going crazy because they killed Ron Brown ass. So therefore now, since they say you made that law that you taking government officials out of the sky, we saying that ain't no motherfucking government officials gonna live up in here. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Since you done made the law, because see, whatever law that they make for us is coming back on them. That's reciprocity. So the planes start jerking and stuff, and that was a scare. You see what I'm saying? What happened? The same day or the day before or the day after, Bush and this Negro, Colin Powell on the plane, and the plane does the same damn thing, bumping all over the doggone place, and they barely make it down. All because they took the black brothers' plane out of the sky a couple of months ago. You see what I'm saying? And so therefore they made that law, and because they made that law, it ain't safe for none of no government officials to be flying around in no planes. You see, because they put that out in the universe. And it's interesting that one happened one day and one happened the actual other happened the other day. Now this is interesting. I was telling my brother, my friend Rodney this. When I used to be in college, we'd go down to my hometown during the summer, and we worked for the tobacco industry, because all of the tobacco industries were set up in Mullins. You go, they got R.J. Reynolds, Winston-Salem's, Cools, Marlboros, and you would go there and you'd work in the tobacco industry and make cold cash for the summer. All the people in high school, all the people from college and all that would come home and they would work and stuff. So I was working for R.J. Reynolds, and there was a brother that I had gone to school with in junior high school. And he used to live right across the street from me. I said, damn, I ain't seen you in about 4 or 5 years. I said, I haven't seen you about 4 or 5 years. And the brother said, man, I was in a slave camp. He said, I was in a slave camp. And he said, you know Richard Darby, which was another person that we knew that lived around the corner. He said, he in there right now. He said, but I escaped. So, you know, back then, this thing didn't register. This was about 10 years ago. This is about almost 15 years ago. It did not register. So we just shoved it off and said, you know, that nigga crazy anyway, you know. He probably was up there working, because we know he probably up there sharecropping for somebody, and they just kept that nigga behind or whatever. He owed them niggas some money, you see, or something like that. So we snubbed it off. But it's funny, we haven't seen again, this guy named Richard Darby. Never saw him again. And he said he was still in there, but this brother escaped. So in actuality, I'm looking at these things, and now I'm recalling things because we know they have these slave camps, because they got 2 million black people in concentration camps now, from lawyers on down to from the bourgeois to the hee-haws. And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm saying, damn, this brother told me this over 15 years ago, that he was in a slave camp, and he escaped. You see what I'm saying? And now I'm looking, in his hindsight, it's 2020, but I'm looking at these things. But back then, I was a dead nigga, and he was like, oh, you know. You see, just like most people, we always justify something in our mind until the cracker come on TV and tell you that there's actually slave camps. You see, what's that?
They had officials.
Yeah, they've always had them. They've always had them. As a matter of fact, like I said, they made the actual announcement on TV, Slavery in America, on July 23rd of 1995. But they threw people off on CNN when they showed a little bit of black people, you know, over some little camps. And that wasn't nothing but some little migrant worker type big deal. But they was actually telling the people, hey, slavery is all a part of, is all back in session now. Now, this is interesting, because there's a tape out called Mind Control in America, where they tell you that all the newscasters, they sound alike to keep you in a mind control. And like I said before, if you notice, it's not news, it's just basically current events that they go and they say, well, go over this side of town and activate a killing, or go over here and make some stuff happen, because we got to have news because it makes money. But if you notice it's not news, because right in your neighborhood you might have 10 different things happening, and you can't get all the gossip. So why is it when you turn on the news, each news station have the same thing? You can click He talking about so-and-so, so-and-so. You click, same thing. So you go to the national level, it's the same thing. Seems to me if it was reporting news, you say, well, hell, I can turn to this station, now we're going to turn to channel 2 and see what they got. And it should be all totally different. Right? So the whole key was that we know that the news and all that is based, and the news is actually created to keep you dead, but also news is also created because it's a billion-dollar industry. You see what I'm saying? It's a billion-dollar industry. And the only reason why some things slip up sometimes is because they didn't call ahead and tell the person the 411 on what the actual program going to be. So this brother went and printed the truth. He was like, oh, man, well, hell, you didn't call me in time enough, so I printed the damn truth. He said, I'm sorry, man, you know, you need to be on it. That's the only reason why other news gets through. But they have a whole segment in America, in Britain called, and the British TV is always dropping the bombs on America, called censorship in America, just like if you go out west. Now, my girl is from out west, and her mother called and said they got all these TV shows on in California talking about how the water in Atlanta is just pure raw sewage. But they will come here and just tell you, oh, we got a little bit of enzymes or whatever little thing like this. And they'll give you, say, oh, well, they're saying that, you know, they're going to have to look into it and clean up the water a little bit. You know, you just think, so, you know what I'm saying, a little bit of dust particles getting in it. But all out west, they're talking about how literally the Chattahoochee River is nothing but where they dump sewage, and all the water in Atlanta is coming from raw sewage. And they got this whole phenomenon out in California. And she's calling, but we didn't hear it here. Nothing. You see, that's the key. You see, so that's showing you that in actuality, the mind control, another thing, this mind control. The black preachers, why in the hell do they all sound alike? Some guy that had him, the guy couldn't even explain how his damn church was burning down. And they come up in here, come on, just tell them how you damn well first set the church on fire. And about 6 o'clock this morning, what the hell, look at this damn idiot here. Head full of grease, it's 6 o'clock this morning. Now, did you see these other idiots? Now, this has got to be the lowest point. In Oklahoma, the damn church burning down, and these niggas up there done got the choir out there at the burn site while the damn fireman trying to put it out. They singing, I sing because I'm happy. You see this shit? I sing because I'm, and the damn church burning down. This idiotic thing. But the mind control, because if you get the book, did you ever get in those books in Pacts with the Devil, which is a key book? I recommend the book for those people that ain't all stuck into what you call moral dogma. But in the back, he says that they have analyzed it in all sorts of organized religions as far as what we know of as insanity. It's a form of insanity. So yes, these preachers all sound alike because we know that based on the training from the Freedmen's Bureau, we know that it's by design that they taught these preachers how to sound alike. You see what I'm saying? And if you holler at a person long enough and get their emotions up, you can get what the hell. See, I even learned that stuff, but you don't have to worry about it. I ain't shitting you. I'm just loud anyway. You see what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, you know, they all sound alike, and that's all a part of mind control. Very key that we understand those type of things. Now, the beautiful thing, like I'm saying, we know that we are in the last hours. The beautiful things are happening now. I look at the churches burning down, and I'm so happy. Niggas running off. I'm just happy. You know what I'm saying? Negroes and stuff, you know. Because we know that the government is using that for too. Another thing is, here's this old Montel Williams ass. Oh, you couldn't tell him nothing. He got his white stripper, white blonde wife running around, got a book called Mountain Move Out of My Way. And no, he just old arrogant Negro, talking junk about OJ and just, he's just all arrogant. And so now they're getting ready to show you just another nigger too. And you done crossed the line with this white woman, so you the new OJ. And so now they put the lawsuit on his butt, the harassment suit last week. And like this time, they not letting too many Negroes go out of court this time like they did the OJ thing. They got one past the goalie, but most of the time, he might burn for that.
They said he was calling the women, the female employees, whores on the job.
Yeah. Whores and having meetings in his drawers and all kinds of stuff like that, you see. So, and all kind of stuff like that. So what I'm trying to say is what you're dealing with here is, I'm looking at this and I'm saying that all over the place, This thing is actually happening. So this is beautiful. I mean, it's actually happening, and it's going all over the actual place. So let's deal with some other thing. I want to deal with this value jet thing. We're just going through some what you call it because I want to show you how corporate war can take over everything. First of all, value jet was the fastest moving and fastest growing airline venture in America. They didn't, so now all you got to do is go back and look at the movie Scarface. You remember on Scarface, Scarface told he was working for, he first got on with his first boss. He said, man, we can make more money, we can get big. And the boss kept saying, I don't want to get big. He said, once I get big, I got to owe these people favors, and the next thing you know, I end up dead in the lake somewhere. He was saying, you know, it's best to just stay and make my couple of $1 million or my couple of $100,000 and be cool. So that's what, you saw, remember that? But what's the name went and got big, and he ended up owing somebody a favor. And you know what I'm saying? So the key was, when Kiwi came out a few months before that, you know, they said, okay, we ain't going to be big because we know the deal. We know that they took People's Express back in 1985. Remember People's Express? And what happened? Delta ran their asses right out of business. You see what I'm saying? Okay, they said, we're not going to get big. So they said Newark and a couple other places. And that was it. So ValueJet comes up, and they just spread out, and they just like roaches. They just infect everything. And now they got a doggone hub in every part of the East Coast. And enforcing the big corporations like Delta, Continental, and, what's that, American Airlines. They're saying, we got to take these people down. You see what I'm saying? And they made the last mistake. They opened up in LaGuardia. They were supposed to open up in February, but Delta blocked it. So they opened back up. So they found that they couldn't keep them out of there, so they opened up in LaGuardia, and 2 weeks later, Delta puts the bombs on the plane and blow the plane up. But it blows the plane up about 2 or 3 weeks right after the Oklahoma bombing, but they came in with the Oklahoma bombing and had a celebration with this thing all of a sudden. It's like Memorial Day now. You see what I'm saying? So they blow the plane up, make sure there are no survivors. That makes it more sensationalized because they have plane wrecks all the time. But as long as you see somebody say, man, I'm glad I got out alive. You say, okay, it wasn't as bad. So they make sure there's no survivors, period. So they blow the plane up because they open up in LaGuardia, because they got Miami, they got LaGuardia. They say, well, first of all, we got to cripple them for the Olympics. Because Delta is the #1 carrier of the Olympics. And both Delta and Coca-Cola, what? Runs Atlanta. You see what I'm saying? In part of the world. And since ValueJet is based out of Atlanta, they say, we got to cripple them for the Olympics, but we got to run them out of business. Since it's a big corporation and there's no such thing as governments, period, we know who owns the FAA. But the FAA is Delta, Continental. That's just the United doggone airplanes that got together and got some checks and balances going in there, put federal on it. There ain't no such thing as no government. It's all corporations. You understand what I'm saying? So the FAA comes in and all of a sudden, well, hell, they had a plane crash about a month, in January or February. You remember in South America. You didn't hear nothing about it almost. A few days and it was gone. Hell, they had 3 plane crashes with U.S. Air in '94. They took a little bit of heat, but my God. But then again, they was not a small carrier that was actually taking all this money from people, with people saying, well, hell, you know, 2 hours, an hour and a half, 3 hours maximum across the country. I can bear and grin it for this cheap price. But since they're not going across the country, what, an hour and a half? I'll go on ValueJet and to pay all this big, large money, because before they had this doggone people that was challenging them, the major airlines can charge you what the hell you would, they charge you anything and you'd have to accept it. Oh, well, that's just airfare, it's just high that way. So they proved that it actually didn't have to be that way because they say they saved a couple of $1 million off of tickets. We don't print no tickets, so so I can cut you some money. So what it was is Delta blew them out of the doggone sky. And because Delta and the big ones, the big 3, I don't know what they are, is the actual FAA, they're actually running them out. They did it with doggone People's Express back in the 80s. And so this is what's going on with ValueJet. Just want you to know. And basically, what does this have to do with anything? It goes down to tell you in actuality there's no such thing as government, period. It's just big corporations. That's what the Ku Klux Klansman Tom Metzger told one of these some veteran. Or I went to the Persian Gulf. And so Tom Metzger is the head of the Klansmen. They the smart Klansmen. He was like, you didn't go to. He said, here's a black man that's proud. Here's a black man that's boasting about going to Saudi Arabia and killing another black man, because ain't nothing over there but Negroes. I went because of the United States of America. He said, you didn't go because of no United States of America. You went to fight for damn major corporations. Is who you went to fight for. You see what I'm saying? And Reverend Buffont was on the TV with this cat. Oh, we're going to shut you down. We're going to pass laws to get rid of you and your Ku Klux Klan. And the guy was telling him, Tom Metzger said, don't you know, man, every law that you pass for me is for yourself. The boys that you call to Congress, I'm down with all of them. We just broke off in fashions to fool your ass, in factions to fool your ass. I just represent the militant voice of the same Newt Gingriches and stuff. Don't you know every law you pass for me is for you, because this is a damn fraternity? So he was telling the militias, he said, you assholes, you up in the army fatigues. He said, my skin is my badge. He said, you doggone white militias, you won't last 3 days against the doggone Crips and the Bloods. You see. And he told him, he said, anytime y'all go and fight the government, told the black people that we'll be out there kicking them in the ass too. So what I'm trying to say is we ain't trying to get up with no white supremacy. What I'm trying to say is this Tom Metzger, they know what's going on, because he even talked about move. Before all the militia thing that went down, they talked about move. So this just letting you know that it's the big corporations, and even the Ku Klux Klans know there's no such thing as an America. Check? Okay. So who was that came up to me and told me about the Atlanta child murders? They had an actual mother. This mother talked about that some people came and got her and took her to let her go see her daughter. The daughter was still alive. Anyway, the CDC was killing all the children and extracting the interferon and the melanin out of them, which they learned how to create Ebola, and they learned how to clone black people from. Anyway, and they blamed it on this scapegoat. She said they took her to see her daughter that wasn't dead yet, but she looked, you know, these little children was what, 8, 9 and stuff? They say the daughter looked like she was about 35 or 40 years old. 8-year-old daughter. But that's all the experiments they had on her. And they literally took her to see this daughter. She said she saw her daughter and she looked like she was about 35 or 40 years old. You see what I'm saying? So these are the experiments they were doing. And it was interesting because it was in one of my lectures, and a brother came up to me and he was telling me, I was riding somewhere, I can't remember, and he was telling me about a woman that lives in Atlanta. He told me the name and everything, and how they took her and they said the child looked that old. You see, which is also living proof that in actuality that they did these doggone experiments with our particular people. Also, now, we remember Brother Dawood said that they got a government bill that outlaws, that will lock it, that says this bill is supposed to have a law to lock up anyone who is found contacting UFOs, although the government said that UFOs don't exist. We have the bill, and it should be on its way. It's coming from Detroit. Lo and behold, like I said, I got the brother in Detroit, and he called me the other day, and he said he got this bill that is supposed to be coming from, he actually went and found the bill at the University of Michigan, and actually sending it down here, so we do have this bill. So if there's no such thing as UFOs, why in the hell the government got a bill? But we actually got the literal bill now, also too. Also, he's sending me some information on this. I don't want to get into it until I actually read it. He couldn't go through it on the phone because he just got it from the white boys. But it's some government information, because all these bills are now coming up based on the internet. Stuff is all coming out now. The information superhighway. All the metaphysical books and all that stuff is now on the internet. And all you need is a box of paper, and people are downloading stuff as soon as they get it. So now the white boys are putting the actual bills, and they're coming out. One of the bills and one of the actual documents that's coming out is the Maulana Karenga's documents that's coming out based on the actual COINTELPRO that was with Maulana Karenga, and they actually was the person that got with him and told him, we want you to start Kwanzaa. It was started by the government. Now, I don't want to elaborate on it because I don't have the bill yet, but be sure it's going to be here in the next week or so. The brother, and it goes through this whole thing about why they would do this as either some tracking system or some type of alternative, ulterior motive. You see what I'm saying? To actually track people in a certain way to get them off of a level that they were actually taking. And so when the actual Afro, it's funny how we go into cycles. The consciousness, they started this Kwanzaa, then the conscious level came back up late 80s, 90s, and then Kwanzaa came back in. And now all of a sudden the TV shows, the TV stations, all your news stations doing Christmas, they recognize Kwanzaa all of a sudden. You see, now they started reporting on Kwanzaa all of a doggone sudden. You see what I'm saying? And different things like that and all, but what we're trying to say is these are the white boys. And they ain't trying to sabotage because they're putting the stuff on the internet for their people. You see what I'm saying? And it's dealing with Maulana Karenga's involvement, and also they use and they were the ones behind starting Kwanzaa. The white boys, the government was. So you know, that's some things too. Also, they're saying that when it comes to women, and this is some things that we understand here too, and I'm not necessarily saying it's the sisters and the brothers here, but basically you got a lot of, when I've been traveling all over the country, and you got to have, there's a lot of brothers been coming up to me, and some sisters too, because it's not just that way, and they were saying about how they were into consciousness, but basically it was a lot of brothers was into consciousness, and the sisters was only, they were either partially into it based on, you know, they were supporting the male, but some of them were rejecting it, and why is it is this imbalance? Well, one thing is happening also, too, that we found out is that if a sister is into consciousness before she has a child, she can carry a certain amount of consciousness with her. But what happens is if you are a person that is not into consciousness, and when you have that child, you give a certain energy to that child so that child can have a chance to not be a damn fool. And so it chooses to be. Each person has a time when they can tap into some things. So when I talk about, sometime when we talk about each person have their timer, well, some people are actually searching and stuff, but a lot of that energy is given to that particular child and that particular person. If you notice a mother, when she has a child, everything goes towards that. This doesn't have anything to do with saying if you got a child, you're not going to be consciousness, because if you're consciousness before that time, then it comes, you know, you can't forget consciousness, you will keep on. But a lot of times this is what's happening also too. And now we understand now when it comes to the government being behind, as they say, the government has a lot to do with actually having a lot of sisters at a young age to have children. So it can destroy their chance of not actually getting to a certain level of consciousness, because they have to take all the energy and put with that child. Because if you notice, a child is a hard job. And if you are not conscious before you go into it, you understand, it means that you won't get that cycle again sometime until you later on in life. You see, and some people never. You see what I'm saying? Some people never are the same. So that's what. So in actuality, this is actually what's happening with a lot of sisters around the way. Also, too, when we also talk about this as far as different mates too. Now they made this observation, and I said this in New York too. I said it comes to the point whereas you have to really, at this particular time, you really have to, your mate has to be on a certain level with you. Well, sometimes, because even when you have sex, there's a certain sexual energy. And if your mate is not on the same realm that you own, it might not take you down, but it can hinder you. Because when you have sex, the sexual union is a merge. You see, what happened was, is all the thing about sex. The original sex before homosexuality crept in, based on the European culture and based on when our culture started deteriorating down the line, a lot of hatred for the male, female started. You know, when you have what you call a nomadic, people go nomad, they turn against the females because of the harsh times around them. It's based on the geographical climates. So based on a lot of homosexuality started creeping around doing 2,000 years ago, and mainly with also the Greeks and the Romans who fashioned most of the damn by what you call a byproduct of the religion, of their ancient religions that you had. They fashioned some of these. What happens is when you have this particular homosexuality creep in, they turned against all of the actual sexual functions and made you think that it's all bad. Lust is good. And let me explain this to you. Lust is good. The divine whore in ancient time, I know this is hard for you to fathom because you are so conditioned to understand what is called moral dogma. But what they mean by the divine whore, it's not necessarily talking about a prostitute, but it's also talking about women, spiritual femininity, where you would literally cultivate the spiritual sexual energy to raise your spiritual awareness. So when the homosexuality crept in, you see what I'm saying, especially when you talk about white Arabs, was a part of that too, based on, you know, white Arabs and the Greeks and the Romans, they turned against the woman, so they made everything sexual bad. You see what I'm saying? They made it bad. And so you think that sex was only created for procreation. procreation was secondary. You see what I'm saying? That's like given. Hell, you're on the planet, you're going to procreate sometime or other, but that's secondary. You see, but the sexual act is a high spiritual process. So even in these days, you must somehow kind of way is to try to get your mate to understand some level of it. There's certain levels that even people dead can actually get to that level and be comfortable with it. As long as they have a general overall view and a love for black people, then you're all right, basically. If they truly love black people, then even though their conscious mind ain't getting with nothing, subconsciously their energy is still rising. Because now we're talking in days, and we're talking about sooner or later all of us tapping in daily now, because now they're playing catch up. So that sexual union, sometimes you must have a certain union as far as ideology with your mate, because when you merge and stuff, it can hinder you. We'll go into that deeper when we go back into question and answer, question and answers also in a few. Now, this is interesting. We was talking about this. The sister was saying, well, and this is another thing. The sister was saying, well, I noticed that a lot of people past 40s, they're having a lot of problems. If they didn't get it before then, they'd have a lot of problems accepting this stuff. And what happens is, the ego is the only thing that you didn't have before you came here, and is the only thing that you don't need, because that is the object of all your problems is based on your ego and your individual selfishness. So what happened was, with years of living with a certain ego, and they got certain milling institutions, and I'm going to explain that in a few minutes, what a milling institution is, that cultivates the ego, where you have this individualism. Years of this individualism and this mass ego, this mass ego assumption. When you get past the 30 mark and going on into the 40s and in later life, what happens is, if you do not cultivate it with certain knowledge or certain humility, or also come with the brothers and sisters on the street, or somehow sever yourself from the grassroots, when you get past 40, the ego actually turns in on you, and the flame and the fire that most youth have, it dies down, and then you become complacent, you become scared, you know what I'm saying, you become passive. You understand? And you become more and more dead. That is because, now what I mean by that is this. There's certain milling institutions, and a milling institution, in slavery, they used to have what is called a mill. A mill is a place that goes and it gets the husk out of the grain and it refines the grain. So they took years to mill you from a process of your original nature. That's the milling institution. To keep that up with the offspring of the children, because remember now, you inherit some of your parents' vision and offspring. So they set a timer off in you in slavery. That's why I say, oh, he's just like his father, just like your mother. You inherit some of the actual mental ability of your parents. So to make sure that that particular part can stay on a certain level, that you're the same Negro you were out of slavery, they invented modern-day milling institutions, such as college, the military, the police force, jobs and stuff like this. Whereas, you know, you in high school and everybody the same damn way. You know what I'm saying? You on the same plane. You got to be on the same plane because there's peer pressure there. You know what I'm saying? But you all one. It's negative in one way, but it's good in another way. But somehow when you go to college, you somehow separate from the brother or sister that did not go, and you're never really the same with them. That is because it's a certain milling institution that has set forth a certain ideas, and not necessarily college. It can be your occupation, your job. Certain milling institution has got to do with the police force or the military, or what if you don't get on top of that. It's a certain, you understand what I'm saying? A certain occupations. The church can be one. Whereas a person is down with you, all of a sudden they went into this church, which is the mill, and all of a sudden they act superior over you. Because you don't share the same view of the Lord as this person do. Not saying you ain't a Christian, because that's all you know. But there's 10,000 different branches of Christianity. And everybody's saying that theirs is better than the other. That's a milling institution. And what happens is, if you don't become one and ground it into what is called some form of humility, or keep a certain love for the love for a certain person, not based on an economic, social, political, and social and political situation, you later on become a victim, and you later on become dead within that particular system. So a lot of people, as they get a certain age, they just die. And that is because of a certain institution that they went to, be college, be a certain job, occupation, or position. You understand what I'm saying? This is what actually happens to them, you see. So that's why sometimes when you see people that was rebellious to the society, drunks, bums, murderers, you see what I'm saying? Prostitutes, people that they tell you the sinners, people that they tell you are the bad guys. In actuality, because of their rebellion to the society, sometimes if you can get the thievery out of their mind, or whatever type of thing, because that's not even thing. Most black people are good people anyway. If you can get some of these things, some of these people are some of your most down-to-earth people. That's why when they go, some of those people, when they go to prison, when they find an organization that's suitable against the damn government, they go right into it. That's why the nation was very good with that. Moors and different things like that. But then you have an element that go up in there and they get in the damn church, and all of a sudden they separate from the other ones. And I know what I'm talking about, because when I went and spoke in the prison, the Moors was in there, the Sufi Muslims was in there, the Sunni Muslims was in there, the Nation of Islam was in there, and Yahweh ben Yahweh, any type of group, but the Christians were standing on the outside waiting for us to get through at the chapel. But here come the damn white preacher right beside them, and they got the damn Bible, you see. But they can't join with their people. So these certain milling institutions, and what it is, when you get to a certain level, if you don't put yourself in check, you will become your parents. You've heard that, some people saying, damn, I can't believe this. You didn't hear white people on TV saying, I'm looking and I never thought, but I've now become my parents. You see, but when I was younger, I despised their outlook on life, because they told me I got to be palatable to the marketplace or to the system. So now they have become that, but that's because of the actual milling institutions that they actually set forth. So the white boy tell you to get a good education, good religion. You see what I'm saying? Get a good job. You're nothing in this society, you see, and that's always, how are you going to build an institution where everybody who breaks the law is the bad guys? You see, and like I told you before, if you in that Hollywood, you cannot be in Hollywood and last over 3 years and say you're going to have a successful job in this industry if you don't play a police officer. And you can't name but 2 or 3 black actors who haven't yet played police officers. That's up there. Denzel, police officers, Wesley Snipes, Samuel L. Jackson, anyone you name, even the females, somewhere in their career, they have to play a police officer because they want to still raise the police officer up as God in the society. Check? And although they might have a cool with Eddie Murphy blowing away people and telling jokes, he still played a several Beverly Hills Cop, 1, 2, and 3. You understand how that goes? And this is, and so these are these actual milling institutions that we actually have to actually fight to not get assumed by. Now listen to this. There's 2 books that you can get. One is called Where Science and Magic Meet, or When Science and Magic Meet. This is a good book on melanin. This is a good book on melanin the white boys done wrote, and they keep coming out with stuff. It's called When Science and Magic Meet. Is all the Tisha gone? Did all them towers go? When Science and Magic Meet, or Where Science is, that's one of, and it's by Element Books. Another book is coming from England. It's called Shadow Matter and Psychic Phenomenon. I don't know the name of the one of When Science and Magic Meet, but the one called Shadow Matter and Psychic Phenomenon, and it says Shadow Matter and Psychic Phenomenon, a scientific investigation into the psychic phenomenon possible for after life and also possible for life after death. It's by Jared D. W-A-S-S-E-R-M-A-N, Wasserman, Ph.D. Now, I don't recommend this book. I don't recommend this book to have a book just to be a simplistic book. This is a book that is very high scientific, but then again, for those people that say that they want to prove something to all your rational and scientific type of people, because you got these black people saying that melanin doesn't exist and it doesn't make a difference. This particular book is a scientific book that you put this in the face, it's like that Diop thing. They can't get around it. So this book is very technical. So I wouldn't recommend this book if you are not really interested in reading a lot of technical things also too. Now it's interesting because these movies that's coming out, and this is interesting because I want to read some things to you, but there's several movies coming out where, and even what's her name talked about this, Steve Coakley, where they're having these movies where black people are actually going in and saving white people, like Mission Impossible. This black guy broke into Langley and got these government agents on these lists and stuff and saved Tom Cruise and helped him out. The movie is funny, this movie that's coming out next week, Eraser. Vanessa Williams is the one that is that important to the government that they got to try to erase. You see what I'm saying? Like I said, the movie, if you can still see it, I don't know if it's still at Phipps Plaza. Let me see if I got the newspaper. It might be gone, but then again, if it's gone, you're going to have to just wait for the video. But wait for the video. It was called Barbed Wire. I think it'll be at the Dollar Flick, but go see the movie. You go see the movie. It might be coming to the Dollar Flick in 2 weeks, but when it does come, it's the one that's with Pamela Anderson. But they do this to throw you off. You know, she the one with the big fake boobs and all this stuff, and she the next Marilyn Monroe. So now they do these, they use these movies to throw you off. You say, well, that's one of them old Pamela Anderson. Well, I'm not going to see this cracker. They only use her as the action element or the sexual element, which most black people, you ain't going to a movie now that's got action. You're interested in the entertainment, and you're not actually interested in the movie. So now, in this movie, they use her as the actual action element, but the movie is all about the girl, Drusilla, that plays Drusilla on Young and the Restless, this girl. The movie is all about her working for the government and help the government create the virus that kill everybody, which is the same thing most of our people. They say, mix up this thing. Then they take it straight to the ghetto and you mix the shit up. You see what I'm saying? So we got a lot of people kill our people and not inadvertently. Working for, so we take pride in working for Dow Chemical and Dow, whatever, all this kind of shit, you know, just giving you know the deal, all this pharmaceutical and all this stuff here, and all these laboratories. So she was working, but then again, on the other hand, when she found out what she did, she had the cure. So the whole earth is trying to find her. Either the Gestapo is trying to kill her, or the underground movements is trying to get the cure to this disease, because the whole earth is under martial law. The whole America's under martial law but one city. They're trying to get this one black girl. But there's one guy but now the mark of the beast is not no chip. The mark of the beast is your eye retina. You see, so you wonder why they ain't installed a chip yet, is because now they can use that, and everything in these movies is technology that they have. If it's not technology that they don't have, they don't put it in the movies. So now they're showing the eye retina, and they're showing how they got your whole life history on the eye retina. So the whole key is she looks like Drusilla, but she was a prototypical West African sister, probably looked like you, or you, but she trains herself to look like Drusilla, you see, to, you know, that sister, you know the one I'm talking about, to get past the guards. But they said, don't worry about how she changed herself with plastic surgery. We can scan her eye retina. So the whole thing is that somebody invented some contact lens that can get past the station, because they got to get her on a plane to take her a certain way so she can give some underground chemist the actual cure. So here's a movie that nobody ever thought, and we ran up on mistake, and it's all the stuff is dropping in the movie. You see, so now all the stuff is coming out in the actual movie. Now the key is this here, the movie Dragon Heart. Very key movie you need to go see, because you're thinking this is a damn child's movie, and it's only playing at one place, the Tower Cinema on Cheshire Bridge. Now this movie, they show a dragon, and they'll show some people, I guess a couple of 200, 300, 400 years ago, the European. And the European is living simultaneous with the dragon. And the key to the dragon is symbolic of the ancient black people that lived in Europe that the white boy killed off. So the dragon slayer is none other than the Europeans that ran the Egyptians out of Scotland, Ireland, and different places in Europe, you see. And so Dragonheart, Sean Connery is actually playing an ancient black man, because he tell him at first, he said, when our race was ancient and your race was young. And they killed him off at the last one, just like, you know, and so it also represents the Moor that was kicked out of Spain. So when you see these movies, they're symbolic. That's like the movie Gargoyles. We were betrayed by a group by the humans that we sought to protect. That's the Moors that came and gave the actual white people civilization, and then was thrown out of Spain. And the Egyptians, the snake people, when what's-his-name chased all the snakes out of Ireland, St. Patrick's, and Scotland, pharaohs of Scotland. So the gargoyles that come on every day at 4:30, which They had one in there, they say, tapping into melanin files. Where this robot was tapping into melanin files. You see what I'm saying? They had now, but they got a sister on there named, let me just tell you the scenario. So they wake up after so many years and they're in New York City now. But because they're like us, just coming out of slavery, they don't know that the white man is the enemy, although they don't trust the white man. But there was one of them that didn't go through the sleep because they slept for 1,000 years because they was put under a spell by this white magician. So there was one sister named Mona, the gargoyle, that didn't sleep for 1,000 years. And on one of the episodes, she's telling you, look, don't never trust these humans. But when they say that, they're talking about white people. Now, this is all, Walt Disney put this thing out. Say, don't trust them. And so the Goliath is saying, you know, he's one of the people that just waking up out of slavery. He's saying, well, if once they get used to us, they will accept us. And she's saying, hell, they was used to you 1,000 years ago, and they killed you. Never accept them. They say they will never accept you. So now, when you see the gargoyles is nothing but the ancient black people, but they're waking up now. And now they're in the West. New York City just represents the West, and they're talking about the ones that was hit in the head and went into slavery. So these are things that's also going on. Go see the movie The Phantom. The Phantom has on a purple suit that represents you, your black body. He has a ring that represents the third eye. And they got these 3 skulls that got the energy that can rule the earth. And he said now there was a 4th skull that had the potency of the 3 skulls, and he found out that he had the ring with him. He said, I didn't know I had the power the whole time, which represents I didn't know I had the power the whole time. The power to rule the universe is in the 3rd eye, or the 1st eye. And then once he realized he had the power, it shot out a purple light, which is the brow chakra, which is a purple. And it blew up the other 3 skulls, which represent, I got the power. And he was basically represented as the black man. But his father was killed, just like the Osiris story. His father was killed, and they had phantoms throughout the years to avenge the father. That's the movie The Phantom, playing at Lenox Square. Another movie to go see, Jumanji. You thought it was a kid movie. But see, we are trying to find out different ways to get out of this. And we know nothing political, social, and mundane it'll make you feel good. It'll give you the notion to go out and march and do all kind of social activities. And yes, you can get a little bit of money yourself to be content. And I'm saying if the cracker's going to give you some money, I don't say not get the money. I'm just saying that don't be fooled and thinking unless all our black people become millionaires, which is an idiotic thing, that's the only way we're going to get out of this economics. You see? Because he don't even operate off money. But Jumanji is dealing with how you can play this game and you can open up different dimensions. And you thought the movie was a child's movie. Go see Jumanji, a must-see. I think it's still at the Dollar Flick right now. So now, it's $15 you can buy it on video, but also it's at the Dollar Flick. So go see Jumanji, very key, because that's all you're going through right now. You bouncing off this cracker, you bouncing off black people that hate you. You can't get along with each other. That's like a Monopoly game. Or that's like a game. You turn a spin. The spin can either go good or bad. So you got several risks. You know, you got several risks and stuff. You see what I'm saying? And they're bouncing off the type thing and all this kind of thing here. What the deal is when you're dealing with these particular things, that's what the movie is dealing with. It's actually dealing with your life cycle. So are you still the 6 or what you want to do? Okay, well, whatever way you want to do it, it's cool. Whatever. You the house man. Okay, so see the movie Jumanji. Now, they got Hollywood commercials, TV shows, one called The Dark Skies is coming out. And all this stuff is dealing with the UFOs now, which is one of the key things why I'm here now, because I'm getting ready to set you up and show you what's actually going on. Now, all this stuff is dealing with the UFOs and different things. Now, how many people saw the movie Arrival yet? The man on CBS News that came on Sunday tell you, no matter how good or bad the movie is, he told all white people, you must go see the movie. You see, it ain't coming on the news no more. It ain't coming in a lot of history books because history is a lie. Agreed upon. It's coming in the movies, comic books, video games, and different things like that. cartoons. We live in an apocalyptic age. It's anything that you can rationalize as it coming into, as far as you going somewhere and getting the usual way of doing it. The cracker is smart enough not to put it there. So now, The Arrival has been out 2 weeks. It's one of the most important movies you need to go see. Although it may seem like another UFO movie, it is not. I'll give you one key in the movie. The scenario of the movie is that in the end, one of the main aliens is a little black boy. And Charlie Sheen turns to that black boy and turns to him and says, "We know who you are." Yep. We know who you are. And say, you go tell your people that we know who you are. Now, why did this go down in the movie? Now, remember now, no, if you're a hardhead, no, sister, you can go ahead. We get the hardheads already know. If you're a hardhead, unask the seat and let the sister sit down. Let the sister sit down. You see what I'm saying? You know, and not only that too, if you know, yeah, that's cool. Let the sister sit down at least. You see. So, in the movie, they'll show them going to Mexico where they so-called these aliens have taken over this base in Mexico, and these aliens, this little black boy is this alien. I'm not going to give you the whole movie. But it's very key at the end, he points to the little black boy and say, "We know who you are." That's the key to the movie. It's about this little black boy. Who are the aliens? You are the aliens. The word alien is a Gnostic term that comes from Gnosticism, the Gnostic religion by Hans Jonas, the message of an alien God in the beginning of Christianity. So the whole time you was thinking the alien was some outside person other than you. You are the aliens because you didn't originally come from this planet. So when you see the aliens, you're thinking it's somebody else. So the first part of the movie is the arrival, where they announce who the alien is. The second part of the movie, despite what you think, these movies are put together. They're put together at one time. The second part of the movie is Independence Day, when the white man tries to go to war with the aliens. Who is you? But like any other war, what they do, they go get a nigger to be in it. Give Colin Powell a job, so they get Will Smith. Always a nigga that don't know the history. Well, I'm ready to kick some alien ass. I like saying I'm ready to kick my own ass. So you're saying, what in the hell is some movies got to do with reality? If you understand quantum physics, get the book Michael Talbert's book, The Holographic Universe. There is no such thing as space and time, and the physical is only an illusion. Reality is only what you told yourself it was. The key movie to go see that will teach you everything you need to know is the movie that came out last year. And it's the only movie that came out last year that they refuse to put in videos that you can buy. You can rent it and copy it, but you can't buy it. It's still $90 on the market. And all the movies that came in the last couple of weeks, you can get them. And it's called In the Mouth of Madness. We're going to explain this thing. John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness is your key movie. It is the best movie to teach you what's actually going on, and I'm going to explain this movie in a few minutes. But reality is only what you told yourself it was. That means if I'm born in a house full of shit, unless I understand, go outside of the house and find out that all houses don't have shit on the walls, I would think the shit is a piece of furniture. If that's all you knew. So if I was born in the state penitentiary and I never got outside of the state penitentiary, it would be like Disney World to me. Until someone marched me out the state penitentiary and I found out I had more freedoms than I do. You understand what I'm saying? So the key to these movies is, and I know this for a fact because I got documents from Chicago, of a cult group in Chicago, when it's one of the best occultists one of the best occultists, which is a person that understands our laws that we're supposed to understand, is a white boy out of Chicago, bad, called Michael Bell too, French guy. But this cat, he's telling all the people in the society, look, we want you to write your own scenario on how to get out of this mess and mail it to us. So what the doggone Europeans are doing is they're trying to rewrite the script so they can go on in time. What did Elijah Muhammad teach you? They said that every 26,000 years the gods write a certain history. And then after every 26,000 years they write another history. Who the hell you think wrote these history books? You wrote these history books. Because you are the gods. Is it not written in the law that ye are gods? John chapter 10, verse 34, 36. So the white boy is trying to rewrite the script to buy time because he understands that all is an illusion. This is an illusion. As a man and woman thinketh, so is he or she. So, if he can change your... How you think he kept you in slavery all these years? He had the power to go into your mind and get you thinking a certain way that would hinder how far you go with what he gives your ass, right? So the second part of this is he announced in the first movie, he says, we know who you are, and he pointed to a little black boy at the end of the movie. You saw the movie? He pointed to a little black boy. He said, you go back and tell your people, we know who you are. You are aliens, just as the Gnostic script says. Then the next time is what? They say, the aliens come. They say what? June 3rd. They got a new commercial come out. It says, July 3rd, they attack. You see what I'm saying? That one thing say, you always wonder what was out there. On July 3rd, you will wish that you never found out. And so now they got this man is so arrogant, he got these stealth bombers going to fight this big-ass UFO, big as Atlanta, and they got these little stealth bombers trying to fight this thing. And as you know, they're going to defeat them, because that's the way the movie script goes. But he's trying to change a certain amount of energy. You see what I'm saying? But just like he wrote the script on the O.J. Simpson trial, and it backfired, just like he wrote the script with Ron Brown and start taking down planes out the sky like Mickey Leland and Ron Brown, all of a sudden his ass is bouncing around in the sky last week. It's going to backfire on him. You see what I'm saying? He's saying Independence Day. So obviously he had his Independence Day, what, 1776? So if it's an Independence Day, he's talking about your Independence Day. Because remember, the Spirit is interceding and making them do shit that they would normally do. That's why you have X-Files. That's why you have sightings. That's why you got this new show that's coming on. That's why you done have 3, 4 ancient prophecies. You see what I'm saying? 4 ancient prophecies. That's why CNN went to Avalon Bookstore and is doing a whole month-long series on metaphysical bookstores. You see? On metaphysical bookstores. Because they understand the concept of trying to rewrite the script. But it ain't happening. Because it don't need the rest of the race to know. It just needs the people in this room. And now you know. And you see what I'm saying? If you don't know, now you know. It's all good. You see? These are metaphors that come up from the young gods. And they all mean something. You see what I'm saying? Now the key is, that's what they're getting ready to do as far as rewriting the script. They're trying to rewrite the actual script. So, they're using Will Smith as a battery. Well, let's see about this then. Let's go into some things and let's try to understand what's going on. Let me know when you want to take a break so people can cool off and we can start back up. You see? Oh, yeah, because I'm going to be here for a while. So I want to read this. That way we'll give the ones that want to slip out. You can, you can do that. If you got to do something at home, you can do that too. But I want to, well, we'll continue on. Now, let me see. I know I got everything that I'm supposed to have. Let me see here. I got a piece of paper. Got a piece of paper here, yeah. Now, let's see about the scripts. And let's see who the damn aliens are. Let's see who the aliens are. Okay. It's talking about the aliens. As H.P. Lovecraft, the Yog-Sothoth psycho-myth, tells us ordinarily that humans who face horrible beings that threaten their sanity and their very lives. Remember, in this case, in the new stuff that's being written, the humans are the white people and the aliens are black people. I'm going to explain what extraterrestrial is and terrestrial. You see, terrestrial means an earthbound man. A person that was created here, and because it's created on this plane, this is the only plane that it has energy to go to. Because nothing can go on a plane that it wasn't created on. Since you were created on all planes, as far as you are the gods of the universe, you are what is called an extraterrestrial, because you can go beyond this dimension. That's what an extraterrestrial is. You will see the word terrestrial and extraterrestrial. Terrestrial only means earthbound. And that particular thing was only created on Earth, and that's the European. And other subcultures that was a spin-off of that whole grafting process. But then you have extraterrestrials, which means beyond. And there's a book in the Old Testament that explains that whole thing we'll go into in a few minutes. So it says, and it says now, it tells about the humans who face horrible beings and threaten the sanity of their lives. Lovecraft refers to these beings as the great old ones. It says presumably because in their ancient age of wisdom and power, some of these beings appeared as beautiful angels with wings, and others appeared as metallic men, and the rest of bizarre exotic creatures with tentacles and claws. That's why when you go and see the movie Dragonheart, or you go and see the thing, when you go and actually see the gargoyles that come on every day at 4:30 on UPN 69, they'll show you as this particular part, because it's a hieroglyph to tell you that ultimately you don't even have an image. You're a spiritual energy that's even beyond any physical manifestation that you could even think of. So they put it in something outside of the actual human just to show you that you are beyond all of that. So when you see dragons and gargoyles, it means that this is another step that you can go to. Just like in Africa, what's that? Huh? Species, right, exactly. And actually when you go to Africa, they got little people that live in the trees. Rosalind Jeffries, when she went to Africa the last time, she said because she's hearing the metaphysical things, she listened to a lot of my tapes, she asked the African brothers about spiritual beings or something, and they showed her some little people that lived in the trees. And she was like, damn, I've been coming here for over 10, 15, 20 years. Why you never told me that? They said, you all never asked. When you come, you interested in Africa and all this kind of thing, but you never asked these things. So we're not going to volunteer this shit. You think we crazy. We think we're crazy. And then, like this. And so they said, you never asked. And they showed them little people that live in the trees. They told the guy, like water of spirit, what's the name of that? We tell you about people in there who could fly, Maladome and Sume. You see what I'm saying? So what it is when they show the extraterrestrial, and they show this, when they talk about other particular things that look alien to you, you don't suppose to frown upon it. It's just telling you how you are beyond any other description. You can't put a description on God and ye are gods. You see what I'm saying? And when you characterize something, you only limit the energy. Because the energy stays there based on what your mind is fixated on. So if he can get you thinking that this reality is the only reality it is, then therefore you can have a whole race of people that never even look beyond looking up in the damn sky. You see? Check. The Call of Cthulhu, Lovecraft is also known as a prophetic historian that tells about the time when the moon was in the 7th house of Jupiter and is aligned with Mars, that the great old ones will fully reawaken and assume their power of the earth. This time is referred to as the age of Aquarius, which is upon us and ain't coming. It's already upon us. You see what I'm saying? It's already coming. And it says, he thought that their shapes are all their shapes, meaning that the great old ones appear as they wish, or rather as we wish them to appear. You understand what I'm saying? So in actuality, we're also talking about something beyond the realm of what you call terrestrial knowledge. So what they're dealing with when it comes to this particular aliens, they're actually talking about you. And the white boy is running scared and knows in actuality that his behind is in trouble, so he has to create these things, these particular movies and stuff, for the simple fact that there's no such thing as secrets anymore. If we have a public lecture, and I don't give a damn what kind of lecture, it's getting back to the government some way or the other. Because one of their things to do is to have somebody, not necessarily have agents in here, but somebody comes and buys a video. The brother comes and says, I want to buy some of Bobby Hemmitt, and boom, they take the stuff back to the government. The reason why I know they got all my shit. They had all my stuff since 1994. You see what I'm saying? So they got all my stuff. They got Delbert Blair, and they got everybody else. So they know that we talking a whole nother other thing. You understand what I'm saying? There's some fucking J.A. Rogers and some stuff like this and all, and some black presidents or whatever kind of thing. We're talking all kinds of things. So therefore, they're running scared to rewrite the script, because once you can perceive it, this doorway opens up. You see, and so therefore that's very key. And we're going to go back into this alien thing when we come back and all. But what we're going to do is we're going to let me just read a little more of these things here. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was a movie written to celebrate the Yakub thing. So all the Frankenstein movies, but the Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the one that starred Robert De Niro. It wasn't a good movie, but it was still a movie to go see. It was written to honor the whole Yakub thing, because they know that history. They knew that history since the 1800s. The other movie, the Yakub story, is coming to the movies again this coming this summer, where they make half animal, half man on an island. This particular H.G. Wells story, where some doctor, I can't think of his name, travels to an island, and Dr. Moreau. Marlon Brando is getting ready to come out with a new movie starring Marlon Brando, so they got a serious actor, and he's playing Yakub, where he traveled to the island and created half animal, half man in this movie, and it's coming out this summer. Huh? Don't make a difference. You see, they don't make a difference, just like black.